Before we get into this special weekend edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Michael and Dale at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Deb Sofield is one of 5 commissioners for Greenville Water, and of course, the Table Rock Reservoir was at the center of attention during the recent wildfires. Deb is with us today to give us a post-wildfire report on what effect the fires had on our water supply, if any. Welcome, Deb. Always good to have you.
Hey, Joey, thank you so much for allowing me to come back on your show.
Always a pleasure. Before we get into the details of the fire, take a minute for those listeners who may not be as familiar with what Greenville Water does, and just sort of give us a quick overview.
All right, so Greenville Water is the largest water company in South Carolina. We serve over 500,000 people. We wholesale, and then we retail. Most folks are in this area on Greenville Water. So we are your water source. We pull from 3 water reservoirs, Kiowee, North Saluda, and then Table Rock. They go to, in a sense, a cleansing center. So everything is put to one of our manufacturing plants that makes sure the water is clean and pure. It leaves our plant. It goes through the distribution system.
Yeah. We spoke a few times during the wildfires about how they could affect our water supply. The fires actually kind of had the Table Rock Reservoir surrounded, right? Is there any long-term concerns?
Well, you are correct. The fire came across the mountain. It jumped from one mountain to the next to the next. We literally could see it. It started, in a sense, I'm not going to say innocently enough. These kids knew what they were doing. I'm not going to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
But the reality is, once this absolutely started off, it just went, and there's no two ways about what finally happened there. So if you remember, the kids up on the mountain started a fire. They said they were using cigarettes, but I don't know, Joey. I don't know any kids who smoke. They all vape today.
Yeah.
But what was interesting is that started on Friday, March 21st, and our Greenville Water team was actually out looking for the missing hiker. If you remember, there was a woman who was missing, and it was our guys who said, whoa, we think there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
So they called it in, and I'm going to say by March 24th, literally 3 days later, it was out of control. By Thursday, April 3rd, it was 91% contained, and Table Rock burned over almost 14,000 acres, Persimmon Ridge a little over 2,000 acres. We got the notice from the fire organizations around that 500 acres burned in 3 minutes.
Wow.
It was a hot, hot fire. But remember, what really caused this to be so uncontrollable is all the fuel on the forest floor from Hurricane Helene.
Yeah.
It was an accident waiting to happen. And I've had people like, well, why didn't you clean it up? Well, guys, there's 10,000 acres up there.
Yeah.
So we're not going to be cleaning it up. Nature's going to do its thing. So the fire starts. We could not get help from the state. It took us a while. Had they come a little sooner, I believe the fire would not have been as harsh. But the reality is we did finally get some help. And then they sent a bucket truck, and then with a helicopter. And the good news is you have to scrub those buckets before they go into the watershed.
Yeah. Because
we can't be allowing anything that would dip in. It just wasn't enough to put the fire out. Finally, the state brought a Chinook, and that really helped. But I think it finally hit when they call it a VLAT, a very large air tanker. And that delivered almost 10,000 gallons of fire retardant at one time. And when that hit the ground, boom, the fire went out.
Yeah.
But again, they were very late in sending that up here to us. I do want folks to know you are not allowed to drop fire retardant in watershed property. The pilots have a map. They know where they can and cannot go. These are very skilled pilots. So you're fine. And by the way, that fire retardant is an aluminum. So when it hits the ground, it, pretty much just stays there.
Yeah.
Your water is safe. I mean, people ask me a lot about the water. What happened? It came down the mountain, and by the time it hit the water in the watershed, the fire went out.
Yeah, yeah. With me today, Deb Sofield with Greenville Water. She is a commissioner, one of 5 commissioners. So I want to go back to something you said a minute ago as far as the response. Do you feel like that had the state and others responded sooner, maybe this could have been contained sooner? And what did they just not think that it was going to get as bad as it did?
So, Joey, I'm a water commissioner, not a fire commissioner, but I will tell you this. They had planned to send, I believe, a Chinook up to us, and they turned it around, and it went somewhere else in the state. Not sure where. I think it went down to Horry County. But the problem was, even if they had come sooner, there was so much on the forest floor that we were in trouble no matter what.
Yeah.
What was very concerning, the state had a burn ban in effect. It's not rocket science, people. If it's been dry for 3 weeks, the wind is blowing, don't burn stuff.
Yeah.
But again, we found ourselves in a very precarious position. And let's be honest, we don't have that kind of equipment up here. We do now. There's been a lot of, I'm going to say, cooperation between North Carolina, South Carolina, the different fire departments. We had a kind of a one-time run back in 2016 with that fire on the mountain, and that was about, I think, 10,000 acres.
Yeah.
And so we had a strike team come in from Utah to teach our team how to protect everything. So what happened this time, Greenville Water has a lot of equipment to maintain the watersheds. We were able to get the bulldozers and everything out to start cutting fire lines.
Right.
And that's what protected the homes in the area. And then by this point, everybody got on board the same sheet.
Yeah.
And that's what finally the cooperation of all the mini groups really helped put this fire out, keeping it contained. At the end of the day, no loss of life.
Yeah.
And no structures were lost.
Well, that was going to be a question. Did you have any physical structures damaged? And I guess that's the good news.
That is the good news. A lot of people who understood you had to put a fire break in. And so we were matching fire to fire. We had our folks on the ground, along with other forestry commissions, basically setting fires so it would come up against the fire and it would just, in a sense, put itself out.
Sure.
That's called a prescribed burn. And we do prescribe burns in the watershed. I do have a few folks who always have a comment about that. And I'm like, folks, this is just how you do it. We're not California. You have got to do protective measures.
Yeah.
And so we do. But I will say at the end, everybody came together. You know, at some point, Joey, you had to go to bed at night, pray your home didn't get burned down. Most people were evacuated.
Yeah.
And the fire will do what the fire will do.
Yeah. It was rough for some of the people who lived up on the mountain, up in the Caesar's Head area, and that would be a horrible feeling to have to evacuate your home and not know if it was going to be there when you return. With me, Greenville Water Commissioner Deb Sofield. All right, so we have about a minute left here, Deb, and I want you to repeat what you said earlier. Is there any long-term effect? Is there any concerns we should have about our water?
No, your water is safe. Your water is fine. You are in good hands by the time anything from the sheds actually hit the water plant for purification. Something would be found there. Because the fire burned so hot, there's nothing left. It is charred wood. And I will say, in a heartbreaking way, it's like the apocalypse.
Yeah.
It is completely burnt out up there. Now, the good news is new life. It's amazing now that the canopy is gone. The sunlight is hitting the ground. We have a whole, just a passel full of new flowers.
Yeah.
And actually got a picture of the guys in the shed sent me of a bear family, so everything's coming back. People often ask, were animals harmed? Animals have a sixth sense. They knew to get out. We did find a squirrel. I think one of the fire trucks ran it over, but other than that, everything is fine up there, and your water is safe, and you're good to go.
Well, and
I will say, if you have a well, you might want to have your well tested. Mm-hmm. But for Greenville Water, as your water commissioner, your water is safe.
Well, and that's what we want to hear. Deb Sofield with the Greenville Water, appreciate your time again today and giving us an update.
Thanks for having me. Have me back anytime.
Are you ready for this? I dropped over 30 pounds on the PhD weight loss plan, and I never took Ozempic or any of those other weight loss shots. Joey Hudson here. Before you take a drug, here's something you should know. Your body already makes GLP-1. That's the appetite-fighting hormone that these popular drugs copy. But the PhD weight loss program helps your body make it on its own. No side effects, no long-term risk, no major muscle loss, and no rebound weight gain when you stop. Just natural, lasting results. Before Big Pharma was dancing around in commercials, Dr. Ashley Lucas was doing the real work, helping people lose weight naturally and keeping it off, all without hunger or cravings. At PhD Weight Loss, you'll learn what to eat, when to eat, and how to flip your fat-burning switch without a shot. Don't trade your health for a quick fix. You can do this without Big Pharma. You can do this without drugs. Right now, the first 11 callers get 2 weeks free added to their program, 15% off when you fully commit to the program, a free supplemental bundle, and the PhD Get Results Guarantee. Call now, 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or online at myphdweightloss.com. Adam Jahnke is Strategic Director of Concerned Veterans of America in South Carolina. Adam is a Purple Heart retired Marine who has had multiple combat tours to Iraq. He also worked at the Department of Veteran Affairs for a number of years as a clinical social worker, and prior to that had a long career in veterans advocacy. Welcome, Adam. Appreciate you spending a few minutes with you.
Appreciate it, Joey. Thank you for making the time.
Sure thing. Let's just start with a general overview of what Concerned Veterans of America does.
Yeah, absolutely. Concerned Veterans for America, we're a grassroots organization. We're currently in 12, about to be 14 states, with a 34-state footprint right now, which we intend to grow eventually to all 50 states. And what we do is we build our grassroots armies to advocate for policy change and freedom and prosperity for all Americans. But mainly, a lot of our priorities have been in the veteran space because that's who we are. We're the vast majority of all our employees and volunteers. We're all veterans. We all served, or we had family members that served. So we just want to make sure that the government upholds its promises that they made to us, and hopefully make unique policy changes that uplift the American dream for everybody.
Yeah. Adam, how long have you been involved with CVA?
I've been involved with CVA for about 2.5, 3 years now, from a volunteer to full-time status, and been an amazing experience so far. We've gotten a lot done and a lot more to do.
Yeah. Well, what are the major challenges that you are seeing our veterans face today?
I mean, when there's so many challenges facing the veterans community, I would say that obviously I think we can all agree that the 22 to 28 suicides a day is unacceptable.
Wow.
You know, ever since the government got a hold of that in 2010 and really started pouring money into the problem, we really haven't seen the kind of solutions that we would like in the veteran community. So I think what separates CVA from other veteran organizations is that we are advocating at the national and state level to make the changes necessary for that number to go down, and especially in the healthcare front, which is kind of what I wanted to talk to your listeners about today.
Sure, yeah. And let's get to that. In 2018, as I understand it, President Trump, during his first administration, signed into law the VA Mission Act. So what did that program do for our vets, and how has it changed?
Yeah, so I would like to start by letting your audience know that this fight is not just for veterans. This fight is for all Americans, and I'll tell you why. Because from the 2018 passing of the Mission Act to today, we've seen what works and what doesn't work with that program. But this fight is so critical for all Americans because the VA is the model for the majority of the left for socialized medicine. And as veterans, most veterans, you know, on average, they get a decent experience at their VA, but if they don't, there's no other option. So in 2018, when we passed the Mission Act, our organization had wrote that legislation, and a lot of our policy team were there during the signing of that bill. What it did is it created, for the first time in large numbers, access to community care for veterans. And this is why it's huge, because if you were caught up in a VISN, which is a regional VA system that has failed almost every single audit for the last 2 to 3 decades, you're still stuck in that system. What community care did for the first time in large numbers is it allowed certain veterans that meet certain criteria like too long of a wait for an appointment, or they lived too far away from the specialty care they need, they would then in turn qualify for community care. And then they were able to choose a private healthcare doctor that met their needs to get to get the access that they deserve, right?
Sure.
Because, the VA is very, very short in a lot of specialists, and the wait times can be astronomical. So, our whole approach is we fought, we sacrificed. All we want is to be taken care of for those service-connected conditions that we live with every day. And in the VA system, you can't choose your doctor. You could switch your doctor, but you can't choose your doctor. And I think that this model allows veterans to have more freedom of choice. And more importantly, instead of waiting for the VA to get fixed, this is a solution right now. So veterans can go where they need to. You hear all these stories about, veterans going to the VA for the first time because they have health conditions and they might be retirees now. Well, that spouse of that veteran is going to have to get a master's degree in bureaucracy to try to figure out where they need to go and how they need to do things to get it done. So the Mission Act, although it was flawed, which we're probably going to talk about in a minute, was the first floodgate to really open up those access standards. And speeding that up to today, more than 50% of all veterans in the VA healthcare system have used or are using community care.
Yeah. Now, and with me today, Adam Jahnke, Director of Concerned Veterans for America in South Carolina. And you said that it was flawed. Expand on that a bit. In what ways?
Yeah, absolutely. So, with lawyers speak in any kind of bill, there's, some of the bureaucrats and, across the nation in different branches, but in this case, the VA interpreted the law kind of liberally, right? So instead of keeping the website up to let veterans know they qualify, they took that website down. And in the spirit of the bill, they wanted to make sure that every veteran knew they qualified. Well, come to find out, almost all the VAs were doing everything in their power to not let veterans know that they qualify for that program or get access to it. And one of the ways that they implemented the community care program is that at the VISN level, again, that regional VA network, they created a community care office. So when you're referred to community care, you have to talk to the community care office. They give you a list of doctors. You have to let them know when you make the appointment. They're adding bureaucracy to a program that doesn't need bureaucracy.
Yeah.
So the Veteran Access Act, which is what we're trying to get past now, fixes a lot of those gray areas and ensures that, one, the codification of the access standards, meaning it's not up to that regional VA to decide who qualifies and who doesn't. And it's also, they need to let veterans know that they qualify for community care when they're eligible. We're going to have self-scheduling portals. And the most exciting part of this legislation is the full choice pilot for mental health and substance abuse. And why that's important is because instead of having to go to a VA, by the way, in the Upstate, we don't have inpatient substance abuse treatment for veterans. Mm-hmm. They have to send them to other VAs in other states. What this would allow veterans to do is go to an inpatient mental health facility or an inpatient substance abuse facility in the Upstate that might be a part of Prisma or somebody else, but they get to choose where they go.
Yeah. Now, you talked about how they just didn't want you guys to know that they had qualified. I mean, I'm having trouble just understanding why. I mean, if this program was set up to benefit you guys, I mean, why were they trying to put up roadblocks, my word, I guess, to keep you guys from knowing everything that was available for you?
Well, it's the nature of bureaucracy, I'm afraid. Yeah. I feel, we've seen time and time again through multiple investigations, whether it was the VA Phoenix scandal or prior, a lot of these VISNs have secret wait lists just to skirt eligibility for certain programs. So if they're going to put their time and energy to create secret wait lists just to hide the fact that their wait times are astronomical, you'd think that they'd welcome, something to ease that burden so that veterans can get their needs met. But at the end of the day, I feel like many in the VA bureaucracy view it as a threat to their budget and their existence, right? Instead of it being another way to help veterans get to where they need to be.
Yeah.
So at CVA, we're not anti-VA. We just want to make sure that it's better for everybody. And if it's not, and it doesn't meet your healthcare goals, you can't wait 8 months to see an oncologist. You got to see one right now.
Yeah.
So what this legislation does is it forces the VA to compete in the free market at a limited extent, where veterans can choose, hey, if I see that doctor down the road that I know personally and he meets my values, I'd rather see him than drive 3 hours down to Columbia and have my appointment canceled.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
So in a way, it's a threat to the status quo. But the reason why I think that's unacceptable is in 2000, the VA budget was about $80 to $90 billion, and today it's over $400 billion. And there's 480,000 employees at the VA. That's bigger than active duty Army.
Yeah.
That's a huge liability, right? So when they talk about rolling back veterans benefits or all these scare tactics, we just need to be better stewards of the dollar and making sure that all the promises made to us before we went downrange are being upheld.
Yep. With me today, Adam Jahnke with Concerned Veterans for America. If you'd like additional information, go to cv4a.org, cv4a.org, and find out additional information about this, what this great group is doing. So back to some of the numbers there as far as their budget. Is it safe to say then that money is not necessarily the problem with the benefits?
I mean, with any government program, over the course of time, we've seen an explosion in costs with very minimal changes in outcomes. And, as a nation, we're over $30 trillion in debt. We're spending $2.5 trillion more a year than we're taking in. And I think we're one of the only groups in the veteran space that's saying, hey, we need to be better stewards of these dollars and make sure that, the promises made to us are being kept into the future. I think what happened, Joey, is pretty much since the war of terror started, every single politician, left or right, was terrified to say no or challenge possibly bad or flawed legislation.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what led to this massive expansion and explosion in the budget of the VA. And we're just saying, hey, if the VA can't fix itself and adapt, after they fail these meaningful third-party audits time and time again, we just need to make sure, one, that we're being responsible with the cost involved in veterans care, and two, we've already proven this works. Why can't we get more of what veterans want, right?
Yeah.
They want to go see the doctors in their community. They want to see that specialist that worked 30 years in his career to be one of the top surgeons. I want to go see him. I don't want to see an intern at the VA.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, I mean, no one else, civilians, I wouldn't want to be told where I had to go. If I had something that I'm being treated for, I needed a surgery, as you said, I want to be able to pick the best doctor. And not have restrictions on who I can see. Adam Jahnke with me today. We're talking about Concerned Veterans for America and some legislation they're working on. Well, let me ask you this. So, as we mentioned, the VA Mission Act was passed during President Trump's first administration. Are you seeing a change of attitude in these not quite 100 days of Trump 2?
So ever since this legislation, and the legislation specifically is S-275 in the Senate and H.R. 740 in the House, we've seen an outpour of support. Many of the original co-sponsors of the Mission Act were surprised to find out that the original intent of the bill they signed in 2018 wasn't being followed.
Yeah.
So we're quickly grabbing as many co-sponsors as possible, and we're using, our grassroots army to continue that fight and advocate for that change. Now, again, the news cycle has been ridiculous, so it's hard to get any kind of attention and traction on things that used to be more powerful. But now with all this outrage around every corner, it's hard to draw attention to what really needs to get done here. But our goal is to get this passed and signed into law this fiscal year, hopefully.
Sure. What type of support are you receiving from some of our upstate South Carolina, western North Carolina members of Congress? For example, William Timmons and Ralph Norman and Representative Sherry Biggs, are they supporting this?
Yeah, absolutely. We work closely with all of our elected officials in the state and across the country. So far, Nancy Mace co-signed that legislation. Mm-hmm. Sherry Biggs was the first adopter of that legislation, and Joe Wilson verbally committed to signing that bill. We need to do some follow-up with him, and I believe the vast majority of the members are going to be co-signers shortly.
Yeah.
But that's where the grassroots army comes in, because all of our volunteers in the Upstate and in Myrtle Beach, that's what we're doing. We're making phone calls, we're knocking doors, trying to get our elected officials to sign on to this vital legislation.
So do our listeners need to be contacting their member of Congress to let them know that we want them to support this?
Yeah, absolutely. And the easiest way to do that is to go to our website, and then if you take action on our website, someone from our team is going to follow up with you, get you connected, and help you get the tools necessary to leave those voicemails, to make those emails, and to get action moving forward.
Yeah. And that website again
There's a million ways to help.
Okay, yeah. The website is cv4a.org, cv4a.org. With me today, Adam Jahnke with Concerned Veterans for America. In our final moment or so today, Adam, I want to say thank you for your service. Thank you for what you have done for our country. And, it always is just concerning for me when I hear stories of our veterans, men and women who fought for our country, who protected my freedom of speech so that I can be a big mouth on the radio. It just always concerns me when you guys aren't being taken care of. So, I want you to know that I appreciate you, and I know all of our listeners appreciate you, and anything that we can do to help, we certainly want to.
I appreciate your time, Joey, and thank you so much for your support.
Always a pleasure, and thank you again for your time and for what you're doing. And one last time, that's cv4a.org. Go online and call your Congress, your member of Congress. Call your U.S. Senator and let them know that we need to support our veterans, and this is a good way to do it. Adam, always a pleasure. Thank you again for your time today.
Appreciate it, Joey. Thanks.
Miracle Hill Ministries has been serving the upstate of South Carolina for more than 85 years. With 4 rescue missions, 2 addiction recovery programs, a foster care program, transitional housing, a food ministry, and the list goes on. To help support all of these wonderful programs that serve our community are thrift stores scattered across the upstate. Joining me on the guest line today to talk about their newest store location is Ryan Dirk, the president and CEO of Miracle Hill Ministries. Welcome, Ryan. How are you?
I'm doing great, Joey. Thanks for having me.
With the opening of your newest store today, how many stores do you have now?
Yeah, this will be our 9th store, which we're very excited about. And it's on Woodruff Road here in Greenville, which is an area that we've longed to get into for many years, which is a challenging part of Greenville, but with lots of hustle and bustle. So we're excited to serve on that side of town.
Yeah, well, that is wonderful. Talk with us a minute, Ryan, about the whole thrift store business and how this works.
Yeah, I think that people have a little bit of a misconception that a thrift is just about selling gently used clothing. It is that, and it is a service that we provide to the community where we're able to rescue clothes and furniture and provide them back to the community at a discounted cost. But there's lots of ministry that happens within thrift as well, where we're able to serve people in unique ways. We voucher out goods, and we provide 150 jobs to the community. And all that works to serve the larger mission of Miracle Hill, where we're called to serve the least and the lost, helping people experiencing homelessness. And our thrift stores contribute back greatly to the revenue we need to operate our shelters and our programs, foster care, and the other ministry components that we have.
Yeah, Ryan Dirk, CEO of Miracle Hill Ministries, is with me today. Ryan has an amazing and inspiring story. It's the typical work your way up the ladder story, if you will. Ryan started his employment career with Miracle Hill, serving as the food warehouse supervisor, program manager, director of Overcomers, and as vice president of adult ministries before being named CEO. But the other thing you need to know about Ryan is that before he became an employee of Miracle Hill Ministries, he was a client. And his recent book, Counterfeit Peace, he chronicles his struggle with addiction. And Ryan, that's a big part of your story because Miracle Hill, I think you can say, saved your life.
Yeah, at one of our recent banquets, one of our guests said, "Miracle Hill saved my life. The Lord saved my soul." And I certainly find that to be true in my own life. I walked in the front doors of our rescue mission now 22 years ago, broke, busted, disgusted, had no family, no friends, found Jesus in a rescue mission, and one day at a time, here I am. So it's very exciting. And Joey, I've got the best job in the world. I get to sit around and watch the Lord at work each and every day.
Yeah, and boy, do y'all see him working at Miracle Hill Ministries every day as well. And Ryan, I got to tell you, I've had a copy of your book since it was published last year. I've just recently, actually after your fundraiser, your banquet, it got me thinking about it again. And so I'm reading it. And at some point, I want to catch back up with you, and we'll talk just about your story and your book. You can get a copy at your favorite bookseller or go to miraclehill.org, and you can get a copy there as well. Let's talk for a minute, though, about the different ministries within Miracle Hill, because you cover so many different things, from addiction recovery to the rescue mission that you just talked about, to one of the largest foster care programs in the state. Take a few minutes, Ryan, and just sort of give us a quick summary of what all you guys do.
Yeah, our mission is that Miracle Hill exists, that homeless children and adults receive food and shelter with compassion, hear the good news of Jesus Christ, and move towards healthy relationships and stability. We accomplish that mission through a variety of different means. Certainly our roots are in rescue missions. We operate 4 across the Upstate. On any given night, you have about 650 men, women, and children staying in one of those 4 rescue missions, 2 addiction recovery programs, 18 transitional houses. We operate the state's largest foster care program outside of the state itself. And within children's ministry, the landscape's changed in recent years. We have a foster care community up in Pickens that has these amazing families that agree to go live in a cottage and take up to 5 children, and specifically teens in need of foster care. We also have a family ministry center that serves to deal with some of the trauma experience. Foster care, although a beautiful ministry, foster care is trauma by definition. A child's being removed from their home, and ideally they go to a great foster home, but still it's a hard situation for them. So we offer therapeutic counseling. We offer family advocacy to help reunite families. We also rescue about 1 million pounds of food a year that we redistribute both into our shelters, as well as we offer that to low-income families in the Upstate. And we have these amazing thrift stores that help contribute to all that. In recent years, we've added some social enterprises. So we actually operate a staffing agency called Bridgeworks that's open to the public, but specializes in helping people that may have barriers to employment. We operate a landscaping company, Creation Works, that services our properties as well as local businesses. And we're in the midst of launching AutoWorks, which is a job training program to help people become mechanics while offering gently used vehicles both to our guests and to the general public. So there's a lot going on, lots of people each and every night, all throughout the Upstate, which is where we're called to serve.
Yeah. Ryan Dirk is with me today. He's President and CEO of Miracle Hill Ministries. You can find out additional information about this wonderful ministry at miraclehill.org, miraclehill.org. So, Ryan, I've heard the number before. I can't recall it. As far as just the number of meals that you guys serve, talk with us about that.
Yeah, I wish I had the exact number in front of me, but over the course of a year, it's 400,000 or 500,000 meals throughout all of our facilities. One of the things that we do each year is we do a turkey fry. Last year, we fried over 600 turkeys in a day.
Wow. And
And then that alone went to feed about 8,000 people across Thanksgiving week. Certainly food is not the end all be all of what we do, but it is something that the Lord himself used to create relationship and to build goodwill. And so we do a lot of meal serving.
Yeah. One final thing before we leave today, Ryan, of course, back to the reason we started this conversation, your thrift stores and the opening of your new store on Woodruff Road today. How important is that revenue from thrift stores? I know you receive no government funding. So how does that fit into your overall budget?
Yeah, those thrift stores contribute over $2 million a year of net revenue back to the ministry to help us operate those shelters and those programs. Thrift is all about how many widgets can you turn in a thrift store, and it's tens of thousands of articles of clothing that are sold each year. It is a huge component of what we do. And again, one of the cool parts in recent years, Joey, is that we've really become kind of an expert at hiring our own people. So we're helping them find healthy relationships and stability. And then if you go in one of our thrift stores, many of our employees came right out of our programs, got stabilized in a Miracle Hill facility, and now are serving the public.
Well, and that's the beauty of this, too. Is what I love about it. And we all have a closet that we need to clean out. So let me encourage you to do that and find a Miracle Hill Ministries thrift store near you and take it in, because you're not only supporting these wonderful ministries, but you're also providing jobs to many of those that you interact with at those stores. Ryan, it's always a pleasure. I appreciate what you guys do in our community, and we pray for you every day.
Thank you, Joey. Thank you for having me and for being an ambassador of the ministry.
That's it for this special weekend edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.